So we're going to start off by making the head, and to do that we're going to make a magic ring. So to do that, I'm going to leave a little bit of a yarn tail, and then I'm going to take my 2 fingers and I'm going to wrap the yarn around my fingers 2 times, like this. And then with my thumb, I'm going to hold onto the remaining tail. And then I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to go underneath these 2. I'm going to pull the working yarn, which is the yarn that's attached to the skein of yarn. I'm going to pull it down these 2 and then I'm going to twist like this. And then I'm going to yarn over, yarn over. Basically, yarn over the working yarn tail again, and you're going to pull through. So there's your magic ring. And now you can leave the tail end. And now we're going to do 8 single crochets. So to do a single crochet, you're going to go underneath these 2 again, yarn over. So again, I yarn over by putting my hook underneath these 2, not these 2, underneath the working yarn tail, and then I'm going to pull through. You have 2 loops on your hook, 1, 2, and then you're going to yarn over again and pull through. So that's 1. Let's do it again. So go underneath these 2, yarn over, pull. You have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, and pull through. So that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna keep doing that till you have 8. Okay, so now we're going to remove our fingers completely, and we're going to take our thumb and put it in the middle of the hole, and then with the tail end we're going to tug on it downwards like this, gently though, because this is plush yarn, and we're going to fasten, close the hole. And to do that, you're going to see that one of these 2 starts to tighten on your finger. So for me, it's the one on the left, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be on the left for you. So then I'm going to remove my finger that was in the hole, and I'm going to pull on it gently to tighten the one that's on the right. And as you can see, it tightened. So now I'm going to use the yarn tail that was attached to the magic ring, and I'm going to tug on it again downwards to tighten the other one. And there you go. There's our magic ring. So I'm going to put a stitch marker at the end of the rounds if you want. So how to do it is that you're going to put it at the most recent stitch. So if you can see, it is the one closest to the loop that's on our hook. So I'm gonna put it here. So it is this one. And it's always going to change, but it's always the last one that's near the loop that's on our hook, which is this one. So for the next round, we're going to do increases. So to do an increase, you're going to go into the next stitch. So the next stitch is this one right here. And you're going to go insert your hook. You're going to do a single crochet in that stitch. So just yarn over, pull through. You have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through. So that's 1 single crochet, but an increase is 2 single crochets in the same stitch. So I'm going to go back into the same stitch. So to know that you're in the same stitch, you see these 2 like lines. This line is where it indicates where the same stitch is. So I'm going to insert my hook near this line, and I'm going to make another single crochet. So that's an increase. So then you're going to go into the next stitch and you're going to make another increase. And then go into the next stitch. So if you see, I keep turning my work because you'll know that this is a new stitch because like you see like a V shape. These little things are like indicate that this is a new stitch. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to yarn over and pull through. You have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through. And then I'm going to go into the same stitch again. So where the 2 lines are, so here's the first line, here's the second line, going to go into the second line. And there we go. go into a new stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through, and then you're going to go into the second line, and keep doing that till the end. So I reached the end, and I know that I reached the end because I reached the place that has the stitch marker. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove the stitch marker, and I'm going to go into the stitch that had the stitch marker, and I'm going to do the same increase or whatever the pattern says. And then now we're going to turn our work again, and we're going to see whichever stitch is closest to this loop that's on our hook. So for me, it is this one. So I'm going to put it in, and that's the end of the round. So now the next round is going to end when you reach this one, the green stitch marker. So now we're gonna do 1 single crochet and then 1 increase. So what that means is in a new round, in a new stitch, so turn your work and go into one of the V's, the closest V to your hook, and I'm going to do a single crochet. And then go into the next stitch, a completely different stitch, and do 1 increase. So it's this one. And then go into the next stitch and do 1 single crochet. And then go into this next stitch and do 1 increase. And then go to the next stitch and do 1 single crochet. And go into the next stitch and do 1 increase. So you're gonna keep doing that till you reach the stitch marker. So again, I reached the end of the round, so I'm going to remove my stitch marker, and this time I'm going to do an increase in the stitch that has the stitch marker, because the one before, the stitch before was a single crochet. And then I'm going to take my stitch marker and I'm going to turn my work and see where the new loop is. So it's right here. So now for this round, we're going to do 2 single crochets in 2 different stitches. So go into the first stitch and do 1 single crochet. Go into the next stitch and do another single crochet. Now go into the third stitch and do 1 increase. And then that's it. You're gonna keep repeating that till the end. So go into the next stitch and do 1 single crochet. Go into the next stitch and do 1 single crochet, and go into the next stitch and do 1 increase. And again, you're gonna keep doing that till you reach the stitch marker. And again, the stitch marker again is you're gonna do an increase instead of a single crochet, because the pattern says 2 single crochets and 1 increase, so you're gonna end on an increase. So in case you haven't gotten it yet, you're going to reach the stitch marker, and that means you're almost done with the round. So I'm going to remove my stitch marker, and I'm going to go into the stitch that had the stitch marker, and I'm going to do the increase. And then I'm going to turn my work sideways and see where my loop is that's on my hook here. And then I'm gonna see which stitch is closest. So it's this one. So then I'm going to take my stitch marker and put it in, and then that's the end of the round. So for this round, you're gonna do 3 single crochets and then 1 increase. So you're going to go into one stitch and do 1 single crochet. And then you're going to go into another stitch and do 1 single crochet. And then you're gonna go into another stitch and do 1 single crochet. And then you're gonna go into the fourth stitch and do 1 increase. So this round's gonna be a bit different. You're gonna do 1 single crochet in each stitch. So in each one of these stitches, you're gonna do 1 single crochet, and then that's it. You're gonna reach the stitch marker, and you're gonna just do a single crochet in the stitch that had the stitch marker. And you're gonna do that for 8 rounds. So what that means is that you're gonna reach the stitch marker 8 times. So you're just gonna keep doing single crochets in each stitch. And then I'll show you what you need to do later. I reached the end of round 1 and now I have one more stitch left, so I removed the stitch marker and now I'm going to do the last single crochet, and then I'm going to take my stitch marker, turn it sideways like we've been doing and putting it in the first stitch, and that concludes the first round. So now what you're going to do is you're going to do that 7 more times for a total of 8 rounds. So in this round we're going to start a decrease. So firstly we're going to do 3 single crochets in 3 different stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and then to do a decrease you're going to go into the front loop of the first stitch. So locate your first stitch, which is here, and now you see like how stitch has like 2 parts to it. I'm trying to separate them so you can see where the metal part is. So this is the front and the back is this one, the one I'm holding with my thumb. So we're going to remove the part, the back stitch, the back loop, sorry, and we're going to keep the front loop, so like this. Then we're going to go again into this next stitch, into a completely different stitch, right? So the next stitch, and we're going to go into the front loop again. So go in, separate it if you can, and then just remove like this. Or simply you could just go into the part of the stitch that's like in the front of you. So for me it's like this part, and then this part, and then go, yarn over and pull through 2. You have 2 loops on your hook, 1, 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So again, do 3 single crochets and then go into the front loop of the first stitch, and then the front loop of the second stitch. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2. You have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through 2. And you're going to keep doing that till you reach the end. So now we are going to be doing 2 single crochets and then 1 decrease. So 1 single crochet and 1 stitch. The next stitch, another single crochet, and then in the third stitch, or sorry, in like the third and fourth stitch, you're going to combine them and make 1 decrease. So now we are going to be doing 1 single crochet and then 1 decrease, and so on. So make sure to stuff until it is choppy before you continue the next round. And now for the last round, we're going to just decrease all around. So 8 decreases, and then you're going to come back so that I can show you how to fasten off. So I just made my last decrease, and now to fasten off, you're just going to do a slip stitch. To do a slip stitch, you're going to go into the next stitch as if you're starting a new round, and you're going to yarn over by putting the hook underneath as always, and then pulling through, and you have 2 loops on your hook. So now you're going to pull through this loop into this. And there you go, there's your slip stitch. And then you can cut somewhat of a long tail so that you can fasten off and pull through. So now you're going to thread your needle with the tail that you left, you know, the long tail that I told you to leave. You're going to thread that part. And now we're going to go into the top loops that you see. So like here's one, here's one, here's one, stuff like that. So you're going to go into the top loop only. And then you're gently going to pull to tighten it like this. And then you're going to poke the needle in the middle and then angle it outwards to secure it like this. And then you're going to just go through a couple stitches just in case it unravels, which doesn't usually happen, but you know, just to stay safe. And then you're going to cut your yarn and hide the remaining tail inside. So now to make the hood, you're going to follow the exact same pattern as the head from round 1 till round 5. So you're going to do 8 single crochets in a magic ring like I just did here. And then you're going to keep doing the same stuff up until 3 single crochets and 1 increase all around. And then you're going to come back. So now you're gonna do for 6 rounds just 1 single crochet in each stitch. So now we're gonna do 3 single crochets and then 1 decrease. So before we continue with this round, you're going to put the hood into the head. right? And now you're gonna do 2 single crochets and then 1 decrease while the head is in the hood. So now you're going to fasten off by just doing a slip stitch like we did before, and then cutting your yarn and leaving a bit of a long tail so that you can weave it in. To make the body, we're going to make 8 single crochets in a magic ring, and now we're going to increase 8 times. Now we're going to do 1 single crochet and then 1 increase all around. So now we're going to do 2 single crochets and then 1 increase all around. So now for 6 rounds, we're just going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch, and then we're going to fasten off by slip stitching and cutting our yarn and leaving a very long tail, because this is the tail we're going to be using to sew the body onto the head. Like the ears, I made 4 single crochets in a magic ring, and now I'm going to do 1 single crochet and then 1 increase all around. Now again, we're going to do 1 single crochet and then 1 increase all around. We're going to do 2 single crochets and then 1 increase all around. Finally, we're going to do 3 single crochets and then 1 increase all around. Make sure to fasten off by slip stitching and cut your yarn and leave a bit of a tail to sew it onto the head. I made 6 single crochets in a magic ring, and now we're going to increase 6 times. For 2 rounds, we're just going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch, and then once you reach the second round, you're going to do it and then fasten off by slip stitching and cut your yarn. I made 6 single crochets in a magic ring, and now for 5 rounds, you're just going to single crochet in each stitch and then fasten off by slip stitching and stuff lightly. To make the bow, you're going to start off by making a slip knot. So you're going to make a loop like this, and then you're going to fold it to the opposite side like this. And then you see that yarn in the middle, you're going to pull on it, and you're going to pull on this tail, the shorter tail, upwards like this. And there's your slip knot. And then you're going to pull on these two to tighten the knot. And now we're going to chain 18. So to chain 1, you're going to just wrap the yarn around your hook and pull through. So that's 1. Wrap the yarn around your hook and pull through. 2, 3, and that's it. 18. And so now you're going to go into the second chain from your hook. So what that means is this is the first chain right here, and this is the second chain. So you're going to go into this chain, the second one, and you're going to do 1 single crochet like we've been doing. So that's the first single crochet. Now you're going to do 16 single crochets for a total of 17. 2, and go along the chain. So down here, you're going to go and do 1 single crochet in each stitch. So now that you reach the end, you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to turn your work like this, and then you're going to do another 17 single crochets across. So now that you reach the end again, you're going to chain 1, and then turn your work again, and you're going to be doing 17 single crochets again. So now once you reach the end, you're going to take the ends and you're going to fold them like this, and then you're going to go into this opposite side and you're going to make slip stitch like this. And then now you're going to go into both sides. The first time you didn't go into both sides so now you're going to go into both sides and make a slip stitch. So I'm going to do this for a total of 4 times. So I did 4 slip stitches. And now you can cut your yarn and leave a very long tail. And you're going to pull through. And then you're going to thread the needle with the tail that you just left. And you're going to go into the top of the stitches. So go into the top until you reach the middle, right? Go into the top until you feel like you reach the middle. So for me, I feel like I did reach the middle. So I'm just going to wrap the yarn around my bow a couple of times and tighten it to get the shape of the bow. You should probably weave in the end of this one so that it's not interfering with anything, and then just wrap the yarn until it looks like this. To make the eyes and the nose, I just used some felt paper and I cut some circles and then glued them together. So now to make the whiskers, I thread some thin acrylic black yarn, and now we're going to poke it from here like this. And you're going to hold on one of the ends. So I'm gonna hold on one so that it doesn't come off from the other side. And then I'm going to angle it like this to make like the shape of the whiskers. And then I'm going to poke it outwards like this for it to look like this. And then I'm going to insert it here. And then I'm going to make it straight like this. And then I'm going to poke it again from the inside to the outside. And I'm going to angle it upwards and then go through it like this. And there's the first part of the whiskers. Now to attach the ears, I thread my yarn tail, and now we're just going to put it somewhere, wherever we want. Yes. So wherever we want. So I'm gonna put it here on the edge. So you're just going to take a piece from the hood and then a piece from the ear, and literally that's it. You're just gonna keep repeating that. So a piece from the hood and then a piece from the ear and so on. And you're gonna repeat that until it is secured. So you don't have to go through like every single stitch, right? You can go through, skip a couple and go through the next one so that it's not noticeable though that you've skipped a couple. So like be wise with it. Because if you skip too many, it's gonna show like a hole or something. And there's the first ear. And then I'm going to insert it in the ear itself so that I don't have to weave it in. And then you can cut your yarn. And there you go. Our first ear is secured. So now to sew the bow on, I'm gonna angle it like this. But you can position it wherever you want. And then I'm just going to pick a stitch. We're gonna do the same stuff basically that we did. The 2 steps that we just did, we're gonna do it for everything. So we're gonna go in from here and then pick a stitch from the bow and pick a stitch from the hood, and then pick a stitch from the bow, and then pick a stitch from the head. Sorry, the hood, sorry. And then pick a stitch from the hood again and the bow. I'm doing it in one go, but yeah, you're just gonna repeat that for everything. So to sew the head onto the body, you're simply gonna do the same steps that you did with the bow and with the ears, where you pick a stitch from the hood and then a stitch from the body and a stitch from the hood and then a stitch from the body and so on until it is secure. And that's how you do everything. And before you finish, make sure to cut out with felt paper again some of the details for the Pusheen. Only did it on one side because the other side is covered by the bow. And yeah. Hey guys, so this is the final product. It turned out super cute and I'm really happy with it. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Make sure to comment down below any tutorials you want me to do and I'll do it. So yeah, thank you.